All right, Donald.
Hi, Alex.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
So you've led customer experience at some of the world's largest companies. When you think about digital era versus the AI era, how do you think about design principles in designing? Like, what are the major changes that you foresee?
So I think, I've been around the design industry for many years, and I think I can't think of a project or a program where we didn't have design principles. I don't know that we always use them. So I always feel like design principles were something that were created at the beginning of a product, and then the product was just developed and kind of the teams ran. What I do think is going to be critical in the world of AI is sticking to those principles and having principles that you're going back to at every step along the way. Meaning you're creating new experiences that have a tone, that have a feel, that have a different set of characteristics. Sometimes they have a visual and sometimes they won't have a visual. What's really important, I think, is for the brand, for the company, and for the product to think about what do they want the product to be in its expression. So really a front of mind usage of design principles and experience principles. Does that make sense?
Yep.
But that's really, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So when you think about financial services and being so heavily oriented towards human interaction and trust, how do you think about trust in the AI era?
Such a big topic. So I'll first say trust is earned. Trust is earned even in little micro interactions back and forth. So it's not something that is just given blind trust. I think always having access to people is part of the trust in financial services. And depending on what I'm doing, if it's just a payment out of a wallet is one thing. If it's applying for a loan or planning my retirement and thinking about bigger choices, the stakes are even higher. So communicating, transparency, of course, use of data, absolutely fundamentally important. But I have a firm belief that the best experiences when they're complex, in like the world of financial services, are a mix of things that are digitally human, work and converse like I do, and deliberately human, and using people where I need them. And that can be, through a messaging app, or it can be through a face-to-face kind of advisory. But trust is built on all of those things, and clarity and transparency all the way through.
We spoke before earlier around this idea that the new advice is going to be respected when it's delivered by a human agent combination versus a human alone. How do you think that influences, again, the nature of the client experience overall?
So I think we might see an inversion of that. And again, I'm a believer that humans are fundamentally important in relationships and brand relationships. But I think understanding in an advisory relationship, my advisor, he has access to data, services, and products. I think as a customer and other customers are going to want to know more about what's behind them. So it's not just the trust of you, it's the trust of the systems, the data, et cetera, that I know the advisor is working with. Because as I get smarter as a consumer and can do all sorts of things like I wasn't able to do before all of these generative and really intelligent tools, I'm going to expect that he's doing the same, and I'm going to want to know more and more about it. So it's the trust happens, through the person and also in the system that's supporting the person. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
That's
totally.
a really rich idea.
That's great. When do you think about like design organizations or client experience organizations and how they might be changed, right, or altered in the era of AI? Like, what do you think are some of the major elements that will change in terms of how client experiences run at large organizations?
So if we're talking digital experience, I think those changes are already starting to happen. So I think you can move from an idea to a working prototype in minutes, seconds, vibe coding and other things. And we used to do a lot of work and thinking through, design has to be thought about in the experience and then you go build. That's not the case anyway. We're going back to what it used to be like in the early 90s, where we can create a working prototype and experience and then worry about design later on. So I think that inversion is happening. I think understanding that you can get from time to market in a design really rapidly. And sometimes it's one designer and many different assistants that are AI assistants. All of those things are really important. For the face-to-face experiences, because that covers many different parts of the spectrum, I'll go back to first principles. What do you stand for as a company? If I'm a retirement, what do we want? What do we want all of our clients, all of our customers to feel at the end of the day? And how is that coming out from every person on the team?
What do you see in terms of the business value impact of AI? Is it speed? Is it efficiency? Is it personalization of the client experience? Do you see it, which lever do you think, our corporation is going to be able to pull fastest?
So it's all,
Yeah.
It sounds like behind that question, it's an either or.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it is an either or. Speed, efficiency, and new ideas and time to market, it's all of those things. So I think focusing on one really begets the expense of the other. So I feel like it's going to be a little bit of each.
Great.
I also feel like there's speed, efficiency, time to market, and there's just plain the new ideas that come. So what are the tools that enable a co-creation? I think the most complex experiences, car buying, mortgage application, home buying, all of those things, they're always a mix of, it's a co-creation and a collaboration. Not I want to do it all myself and I want to have someone else do it for me. It's what are the new systems, tools, and services that can enable that collaboration.
Got it. And when you think about the payment space specifically, what do you envision to be the pioneering AI experiences that we can anticipate as consumers there?
Pioneering, so what I think is happening is we're becoming more and more separated from the payment experience. So even with cards, it was like you're buying something, but you're paying for it later. With agents, having an agent go figure out what is the best itinerary for Disney, and I'm going to tell it, I've got a teenager and a toddler and kind of different needs, and asking that agent to come back and complete the whole trip. And it will go out and negotiate different things to do, but different places to stay, all of those things. And the payment is happening on behalf. So this notion of kind of on behalf, using air quotes, that agents are working for me and they're working with other agents is a really interesting thing for payments.
Yep.
And it gets back to your question of trust. You're going to want to make sure that you have the trust in the agent to deliver against it, but that's where we're heading.
Yep.
So this notion of something is working on behalf for me, and the payment is also happening on behalf. So it raises all sorts of questions.
Yeah, I love that. Is there any analog you can think of in the kind of offline world where you have that same dynamic? It's like whether it be legal spaces or anything like that, anything that inspires you when you think about the next generation experiences?
I want to say there's nothing because it is so brand new.
Yep.
With every entity I have in my life today, I still have my backup ability, meaning if I have a doctor, I can still use my own sources to double check things. Even lawyer, you sometimes double. So finding the trusted partners, but enabling and working with those tools, that's the way of working today. But we're entering an era where things will be so different all the way across the board. I can't think of any comparable model yet that I would say it's a lot like whatever it might be. Yeah.
That's great. Down to a little bit of a prediction. In 5 years, financial services will?
I think instead of having things done for me, they will be done with me. So I can do my own and things that I could never do, portfolio planning, my own kind of retirement and other types of life planning. I will have the ability to research, look at rebalancing things that I never had before.
Awesome.